So recent reports published by Sportsnet New York have documented NFL and New York Giants kicker Josh Brown admitting to abusing his wife, verbally, physically, and emotionally abusing his wife in several different circumstances. So we're going to get to a bunch of quotes here. We're going to discuss Josh Brown and then hopefully get into the broader discussion as to the failures of the NFL. So let's take a look at the first quote, which was released a few journal entries and some personal letters. So the first one is, I have physically, mentally, emotionally, and verbally been a repulsive man. I have abused my wife. So that was in a personal letter. This one, moving forward, is actually a journal letter to his friend. I have been a liar for most of my life. I made selfish decisions to use and abuse women, starting at the age of 7 to fill this void. I objectified women and never really worried about the pain and hurt I caused them. My ability to connect emotionally to other people was zero. My empathy levels were zero. Because I never handled these underlying issues, I became an abuser and hurt Molly physically, emotionally, and verbally. I viewed myself as God, basically, and she was my slave. Another one I want to get to, just to continue on. This is one that was actually in 2013, where he signed a contract for change because of the abuse towards his wife. And he stated this: there are 8 items listed in the signed contract, including, once again, I have physically, verbally, and emotionally abused my wife, Molly. I have controlled her by making her feel less human than me and manipulated her with money. I have disregarded my stepson's feelings, and they have witnessed me abusing their mother. So it's a lot to process here, but one thing that has to be brought up early on is that Brown was actually arrested in May 2015 on 4th-degree domestic violence charges, and he said then that the incident was just a moment, but now his ex-wife, Molly, who at the time documented this, stating that he has been abusive more than 20 times. So clearly this is an example of just a man who has been documenting just the horror of his actions towards his wife. It's something that we're going to get into hopefully, and how the NFL, once again, failure to condemn anyone in their association with sexual assault, with domestic abuse, just really awful charges that they really are very inconsistent. And I'm going to try and contain my cause. I ripped them apart, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts first.
The NFL is a business, and I always, every time a new story comes out, it's just the most hypocritical business that is out there. They're a non-profit organization that makes the most profit.
Yep.
They have these really weird opinions that they know will directly affect their endorsements from the alcohol industry that they have great partnerships with. And what I'm referring to, for the most part, is, for example, marijuana. Like, whenever there's any sort of player recreationally or medicinally uses marijuana, instantly they're so quick to put a ban on it. Well, or when we go back to, like, let's say female-related issues like breast cancer, they have the entire month of October, right, where they promote breast cancer awareness. Yet when an NFL player's mother has breast cancer and wants to wear pink cleats for the duration of the year because his mother has breast cancer, and he wants to continue bringing awareness to breast cancer, they say they're going to fine him because the NFL, quite frankly, doesn't give a shit about breast cancer. They just want to sell you upmarked pink freaking football cleats and then act like they're giving the money back to any sort of like Cancer Society and then take a chunk of it for their own revenue and continue to operate with a motive of profit. Because they're a business. Yeah, and they're a shitty one.
Before we further condemn the NFL, I feel that it's only fair to get to their statement first. They actually released a new statement, obviously because of this issue. In light of the release of these documents yesterday, we will thoroughly review the additional information and determine next steps in the context of NFL personal conduct policy. We will not be making any comments on potential discipline until that time. So while we're going to rip apart the NFL, which I definitely plan on doing, of course you have to condemn this man for his actions consistently, right? And by the way, what I've seen is examples of people stating, well, he's admitting his faults. Maybe now we can get him the sort of therapy to try and get back to a place where he's not being harmful to those around him, right? That's the last of my thoughts at the moment. The first thing that I wanted to address is how this was able to go on, how the police were able to obtain reports dating all the way back to 2013, and the NFL was saying that they had inconclusive evidence to only give him a one-match ban. Are you fucking kidding me? This is a an absolute disgrace. Ray Rice, by the way, let's go back to that example, was only given a 3-game ban when they had a video of him dragging his wife out from the elevator, and then because of the inconsistencies of that, he was given the season ban once they seen actual video evidence of him attacking his wife.
Well, Ray Rice is also not a kicker.
No,
that's another example. He's great for the fantasy football teams.
That's another example which many people have thrown around. But does anyone really know who Josh Brown is? I don't care if it's Josh Brown. I don't care if it's Cam Newton. It should be anyone who's going to harm their family member like this, harm anyone out there. They have to be condemned. And the NFL has just a sheer failure in investigating these reports. And I think that it's catastrophic that it takes something like this to come out for them to be like, oh, maybe we'll investigate it. And by the way, this isn't letting the New York Giants off. The fact that you haven't cut this guy already is shambolic.
The fact that both the New York Giants owner and head coach publicly stood by their kicker in May 2015 after the 1-game suspension is reason enough that we really don't care about women.
No.
We really don't care about women in America for the most part when we have one presidential candidate who keeps saying ridiculous shit on a stage and people support him. We don't care about women in the NFL at all. We only care about it to the extent where we can generate some sort of ad revenue.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'll just echo, there's no vested interest in protecting women. Obviously, the NFL has a vested interest in protecting the NFL.
Yeah.
Not even the players, mind you.
Sure, yeah, not at all.
Oh, when it comes to their safety, as long as they're making money, it means keep them on the field because we're gonna make some money.
Sure, and I think there's so much data that shows that domestic violence is a particular issue, right, within the NFL, and yet they've not done anything. They've not created any kind of sanctions, harsher sanctions that might, shape the players' behavior at all. So I think this is just yet another fail of the NFL in what could be a significant way that they could show. Just even show, right? In the way that they kind of do...
for breast cancer awareness?
Yeah, in a way that they even just show for breast cancer awareness, right? This very shallow... They won't even do that here, right?
Because then you're legitimizing a problem, and right now the NFL actively tries to hide any sort of instances of domestic abuse because they know that these issues keep popping up, and if they... validate it, they legitimize it, they publicize it, then all of a sudden the NFL has a much larger problem on its hands.
Yeah, there's a couple of points I wanted to address with this as well, right? So you were talking about the sanctions there. When it came to banning players, Roger Goodell, after the Ray Rice incident, said that there was a baseline of at least for first-time offenders for 6-game suspension. And since that, so we have Jonathan Doyer, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, got 3 games. Johnny Manziel got a pass. Bruce Miller got nothing. All while Tom Brady, for deflating those damn balls.
Oh, Jesus.
How many games did he get? First 4 games, right? So it's clearly inconsistent. But the whole problem of this whole thing, right? The fact is the NFL, look at their statistics. They have an alarming amount of domestic abuse cases, violence, right? And this is something that whenever I get the opportunity on our sports show, TIT Sports, you can check that out, I'll say this. This sport teaches athletes from such a young age to take out all their concerns through aggression. We love it. Go in there and rattle that guy. I don't care if it's a dirty hit. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're rocking Cam Newton's helmet. You go in there and you hammer him. And do you know what happens? Is these people don't know how to deal with any sort of adversity any other way. They don't have any sort of therapy, which I would install from the earliest age that you include physical contact. These kids, whether it be their coach helping them, whether it be their parents, start telling them that there's other ways to deal with problems rather than going out and hitting someone. Yes, there are players out there that are going to have problems, are going to take it to the extreme. But if you're going to be oversensitive when it comes to preserving people's lives, then I'm all for that. Especially with the fact that the NFL looks away from everything, especially when it comes to 2 things. When it comes to domestic violence cases, that's going to prevent their superstars from being on the field. And when it comes to concussions, that's going to prevent their superstars from being on the field.
If you know that you're not going to get reprimanded severely, and even in instances where there's some sort of criminal charge launched against you, you're still going to only get 1-game suspensions unless it enters the public eye and all of a sudden there's some sort of national discourse around this situation. They're not going to take any action against you. Why would you stop yourself, especially when you're a superstar on the field?
Yeah.
Now, having said that, but like I mentioned again though, as I mentioned in the beginning, the whole concept behind how they pursue marijuana and any instance of medicinal or recreational use of marijuana, which is now legal, like in 7 states, and more to come, hopefully California, it's just so hypocritical. I don't understand it. One's a victimless crime. It's not even a crime in most places, but the NFL pursues it so rigorously. And then the other, there are real repercussions. There are real people that are affected by the actions taken by these players. And yet, if it's not something that people are going to discuss, then it's fine.
You know who makes independent media possible? You guys. Because of you, we can actually do this show free of any outside influence. That's what makes us so strong. Become a member today. tytnetwork.com/join. You are the media.